and welcome. I'm the one and only West Coast King, and welcome back to another Major League 90, where we are continuing our preview of the upcoming 2016 MLS season. And today, we're taking a look at the Western Conference. Now, I don't think there is any dispute that the Western Conference is the tougher of the two conferences. As a matter of fact, the last 7 MLS Cup winners all now at least reside in the Western Conference. A couple of them weren't actually part of the Western Conference when they won that title, but they are now at part of the Western Conference currently. So it's a much more difficult conference to make the playoffs in and have success in. And for that reason, even if the teams I pick here finish in last place, it's not that bad, all right? It's a very difficult conference to be successful in. So once again, we're going to be starting at the bottom and working our way up to the top. And in the 10th place spot this season, I think it's going to be the Colorado Rapids once again. They finished in last place last year in the West. I think they're going to have that same luck this year. They're the worst goal scoring team in the league last season, and it wasn't even close. They did do some to address that this year in the offseason. They brought in Gashi from the Swiss League, who actually led the Swiss League in scoring the last 2 seasons. But is it enough? I don't think so. I just don't think there's enough help on that team to lead them out of the basement. They may work their way up, maybe 9th or 8th place, but they're definitely not touching the playoffs this year. They also brought in Marco Papa from Seattle and Zach Pfeffer from Philadelphia. That should help their midfield a little bit, but I just don't think they have enough pieces in place to make a serious run this year. I'd say probably 8th place is the best they can hope for. Again, I think they're going to finish in last. Coming in at the number 9 spot, I'm going to take the San Jose Earthquakes. And to be fair, I think the teams that are going to finish in the bottom 5 in my predicted table are all pretty close talent-wise. So I think they'll finish pretty close as far as the points go. So it's very difficult to pick where they're going to finish in the table. But I'm going to take San Jose here at number 9. I just don't think they've brought in enough reinforcements to make that team any better than what they were last year. And I think last year they really outperformed the talent that they had on that team. I just don't think anyone predicted that they would finish in the 7th place spot last season after they finished last in the Western Conference the season before that. So I think they'll slip back down the table probably to closer to where their talent says they should be. And I think they're going to finish in 9th place. In the number 8 spot, I'm going to pick the Houston Dynamo. No change for them. They finished 8th last season, and it's another team where I just don't think they did enough to address the place where they need help, which was defense. They were the worst defensive team in the Western Conference last year. Don't know if that's going to change. I think they might be slightly better, but not enough to the point where it's going to help them rise up the table any. I think goal scoring wise, they're going to be okay with Cubo Torres, Will Bruin, and Giles Barnes. A pretty solid attacking trio. I don't know how they're going to get them all on the field at one time, but they do have definite goal scoring options. But again, defensively, they're definitely lacking. So I just don't think they're going to be any better than they were last season. Moving up to the number 7 spot, I think it's going to be RSL, Real Salt Lake. They were bad both offensively and defensively last season, which is why they had the same bad goal differential that last place Colorado had, which was -10. But they definitely addressed their offensive needs. They brought Muzzy back to help goal scoring up top at the striker position. He's definitely a goal scoring threat, but they definitely didn't address the defense, which could be a problem for them. I don't think they have enough to make the playoffs. I think 7th place is as high as they will get. They could finish lower. Definitely don't think they'll outperform that 7th place spot, but hopefully, if all goes well for them, I think they might just barely be able to be in the playoff hunt towards the end of the season. So now we have arrived at the playoff positions, the top 6, and in the 6th place spot, I'm going to pick the defending MLS Cup champions, the Portland Timbers. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, you're sitting there in your Sounders jersey, you're going to pick the Timbers to finish below the Sounders. That's totally biased. You know, you're not giving them a fair shake. I swear to you, I am. If I thought the Timbers were better, I'd pick the Timbers to finish higher. I just think they've lost too much talent off of the team that won it all last season, like Rodney Wallace and Will Johnson. Though I know Johnson was hurt for a large part of the season last year, he was still a big part of that team morally and just they're the face of the franchise almost. So I just think they've lost too much talent and they haven't brought in enough to replace those types of players. Now, defensively, they're still going to be great. They have the 2nd best defensive record in the league last year. That shouldn't change. But I think offensively, they were also one of the worst teams, and I don't think they've done enough to address that. So I think they'll slip a little bit this year. Though, again, come playoff time, they're still going to be a very dangerous team. In the number 5 spot, I'm going to pick Sporting Kansas City, and this is a risky pick. They very well could fall down and not make the playoffs at all this year. And the major problem with that team is their lack of depth at striker. Losing Christian Nemeth off of the team from last season was really, really big. I thought he was a great backup option to Dom Dwyer up top. And again, if Dom Dwyer, much like last season, if Dom Dwyer gets hurt, that team could really struggle. I just don't know if there's a backup option behind Dom Dwyer. But if he stays healthy, this team's really good. I thought bringing in Brad Davis as well as Justin Mapp were really good options for Sporting Kansas City. They still got Graham Zusi. If Benny Feilhaber can continue to be Benny Feilhaber, they should be good in the midfield. And that defense, as always, is really good. So I think they have a really good team. Again, it's going to come down to the depth at the striker spot, though. It's all hinging on Dom Dwyer, which makes me nervous about this pick. But I think Sporting Kansas City is a very good team, and I definitely think they'll be around when the playoffs come. Moving our way up to the number 4 spot, and this one might surprise some people, I'm picking the LA Galaxy. And if you actually look at it, they finished 5th last season, so this is actually a spot up from where they were last year. So I'm actually cutting them a break here, but I don't believe in the LA Galaxy, and part of the reason is they improved recently with that 4-0 thrashing they took down in Santos Laguna recently. They can't win on the road. They were the 2nd worst road team last season behind only the Chicago Fire, who were the worst team in the league. Unquestionably the worst team, by the way. So they can't win on the road. Part of that has to do with the fact that older players don't do well on long road trips for whatever reason. And the LA Galaxy have made no effort to hide the fact that they're banking on veteran players over the age of 30. Keane, De Jong, Gerrard, Cole, Van Damme. I mean, the whole freaking team almost are veterans over 30. So that all adds up to a team that's probably a middle of the road playoff team and one that won't make it to the MLS Cup Finals. Don't get me wrong, the talent is unquestioned. They're a very good team, but if you can't win on the road, you can't win a playoff series. I just don't think they have it in them. In the number 3 spot, I'm going to pick the Seattle Sounders. Now, I could talk all day about them. Obviously, I know the most about this team, so I'll keep it sweet and short. But they're moving to a 4-3-3 formation. I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, it works really well for Dempsey because he's playing out wide on the left, and I've always said Dempsey plays better as a wide player rather than up top going straight up the field. Cutting in has always made him a better player, and he can do that playing the left wing. So for Dempsey, the 4-3-3 is great. For the rest of the team, not so sure. And it's really, the problem is the midfield, it leaves them too exposed. Seeing their games, they're very exposed in the midfield going up the middle. So until they figure out that midfield, they could struggle in the early part of this season. If they can figure it out and run the 4-3-3 with efficiency and to success, they could be a very good team. I actually see them moving back to a 4-4-2 and putting Dempsey and Morris up top together. I think that gives them the best chance for success. Either way, I think there's a lot of talent on that team. The best defense in the league last year is largely unchanged. They actually got a little bit better bringing in Jovan Jones. So I think they're going to be a great defensive unit. It's just, I don't know what they're going to do in the 4-3-3, and it's a big question, but with all the talent on that team, they're going to be okay this season. So now we are up to the top 2, and it's the same top 2 teams as it was last season with Dallas and Vancouver. And in the number 2 spot, I'm picking Vancouver once again. I think they're a great team. They're fast, they're athletic, they just have the right composition. Tied for the best defensive record in the league last season as well, so a great defensive unit. All they have to do better is score goals. I think they'll do that this year. I think Kekuta Mane is set for a breakout season on the left wing spot. I think they're going to be very, very good and a very formidable opponent. I mean, the Cascade region is stacked. All right, Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver, it's like 3 brothers that love to battle against each other. And for that reason, it actually kind of hurts them. But at the same time, it's great to watch. So Vancouver, I think, is going to come out on top of that Cascadia rivalry this season. They're just a great team with a lot of talent. I just don't see any holes in that roster. So that leaves the number 1 spot, and I already said who it's going to be, and I'm picking Dallas. If you watched Dallas at the end of last season, it was terrifying. I watched the Sounders go up against them in the playoffs live. I was there. It's scary. They're fast all over the field. They have gone away from the tried and true way to success that Seattle and LA have been working with for the last few seasons, which is heavy on veterans and sprinkling young talent around that. Dallas has gone young, they've gone athletic, and they are breaking the mold in the MLS, and it's worked to scary success. I think they'll be better this season. They're just getting more experience. They're going to be a better team. I think they'll be the Supporters Shield winners this year. I just don't think they won the West last year, a very good Western Conference. I already talked about that. They won it by 7 points. They're a good team. All right, there's no doubt about it. They're a very, very good team. I don't think anyone in the West can touch them. I don't think anyone in the MLS can touch them, at least not in the regular season. Come the playoff time, they need to step it up. They were kind of shaky against Seattle. Seattle very nearly knocked them out, and then they end up losing in the next round. So if they can step it up in the playoffs, I think they'll be very, very good next season when it comes to the playoffs picture. In the regular season, I don't think anyone's touching them. I think they're going to be the #1 team. So that is how the Western Conference is shaping up, at least from my perspective. As always, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree, and who do you think will be the Supporter Shield winner this season? I already told you my pick is Dallas. Is there a team out there that's better than them this year? On paper, there might be. When it's put to practice and on the field, I just think Dallas is the best team in the league, at least for this season. So that's going to do it for this one. If you had as much fun as I did, make sure to let me know, leave a like below, subscribe if you're new. I will see you when we come back with some more Major League 90. See ya.